Hey there, Norman here from Use Themes, and today we're going to be discussing the Floating Gallery widget. The Floating Gallery offers a very unique interactive gallery experience, and as I move my cursor around the gallery, you can see the thumbnail images shifting in response to the mouse movement. It allows up to 16 images that are then displayed in floating thumbnails, and when I click on a thumbnail, it takes me to a detail page that shows the full size version of the image, a title, description, and a button. There's a back button that allows me to navigate back to the main gallery. This gallery is entirely self contained within one widget, and the detail pages are generated by the widget itself, saving me from building an actual detail page separately from the gallery. This widget is great for photographers, artists, or designers that want to show off their portfolios. So let's go ahead and jump into Muse and take a look at how this is set up. Now here in Muse, I've got an empty page here and an image applied as the page background. We'll just recreate the gallery we used in our product demo. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab that widget from our library panel, and we'll click and drag this onto the canvas, and then we'll just position this to the top of the page. Now this widget will generally look best at full browser width. This way it's responsive and it has the most dramatic effect. I've got the widget set to full width already, but keep in mind if you're working in a wide breakpoint, you may need to set the widget to stretch to browser width in the resize dropdown in the top menu. Also, we advise that you unlock the page width using these two arrows on the side of the breakpoint bar. What this does is opens up the space on your page for your gallery image. Instead of being constrained to just 960 pixels of browser width, with the page unlocked, you can utilize the entire width of the page for your gallery, regardless of the viewer's screen size. Again, to unlock or lock your page width, you simply use these two arrows. The arrows inward is locked, the arrows outward is unlocked. So now let's dive into the widget itself and take a look at how this is set up. If we open up the widgets panel here, the first thing that we'll see is the background text first line. This will be the top line of text that you'll see behind the gallery. Here, I'll enter the word floating. Below that, we'll see the background text second line. This will be the bottom line of text that we'll see behind the gallery. For this, I will enter gallery. Next in the list, we have our back button label. This is the text that will appear in the navigation that returns you to the main gallery page. I'll leave that as is. Next, we have the mobile grid item height. This sets the height of the image thumbnails on mobile devices. It is best to use a setting of 50% or less so that images don't appear too tall and thin on the narrow viewports of mobile devices. I'll leave this on the default setting for now. Below this, we have items 1 through 16. If we open up one of these, we can see here that these sections are where you will enter all the elements that are seen on the individual item detail pages. In here, we have our image. This is the image that appears in the item detail page. It is also the same image that appears as the thumbnail image on the main gallery page. We suggest using images that have a max size between 1000 to 1500 pixels on their longest edge. I'm going to load our first image in here. We'll grab Portrait 1, open this widget back up. Below the image, we have our image title. This is the large title text that overlays the image on the item detail page. For this first one, I will put in the word Milan. Item subtitle is next, and this is the item subtitle. For this, I will put Italy 2022. And then below that, we have the content text. This is the item description text. I'll leave this with the lorem ipsum text that's there by default. Next, we have the enable button. This enables a button for your item detail page. Below that, we have the button link, the URL of the button link. You may also enable current page, which is what we'll do. Next, we have the button label. the text that appears on your button, we'll leave this as is. Finally, we have the button target. This is where you choose whether you want the link to open in the same tab or a new tab. So those are the elements for one item detail page. If I open the next item, we see that it has the exact same option with the addition of enable item. This enables the item. So for example, if you have 12 images to show in your gallery, you will enable items 1 through 12. But you will not enable items 13 through 16 as you won't have any images to fill those spots. So for the rest of the items, I'll fill them all out off screen and then I'll be right back. Okay, I just finished loading up this widget with the item content. I also went ahead and adjusted the background image so it better fits our page, whereas before it was displaying off the page. So let's go ahead and preview this in the browser. And we can see here that the widget is working great. And if we go ahead and open up one of these images, we can see that everything is loading perfectly. So let's go ahead and jump back into Muse and let's jump into the design portion of this widget. If we open up the widget and we jump down to the background text styling, we'll see that this section is filled with a bunch of styling options for the text that appears behind the gallery. The settings in here in this section are all labeled with their exact function, and we won't go over them in detail since they're pretty self-explanatory. If we close this and then open up the item styling panel, we can see that just like the section above, we won't go over each of these styling options because they're all pretty self-explanatory, but as you can see, there are loads of options here that give you full styling control of your gallery. So with that, I just want to go over a few helpful tips. The first one being that you've probably noticed that the images in the gallery are all the same size. They are fairly square in shape, but they are responsive, so they will narrow a bit depending on the size of your screen. If we open up our demo here and we just give you a quick example of this, you'll see what I mean here. On your average 15-inch MacBook, the image thumbnails will be a portrait type aspect ratio. Regardless of what the aspect ratio is on the image you load, the images will all be displayed the same. If you load a wider landscape type image, the site visitor will see the left and right edges reduced since they will see the image displayed as portrait instead of landscape. So our suggestion is to select images that look good as a square or portrait layout. That being said, my name is Norma Durkee, and you will rock it with MuseThemes.com. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to support. We're always here to help.